When I was a child growing up in a small town in Upper East Tennessee, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. Most of the kids I played with in the Riverview housing development were black, and when we black kids strolled onto city streets that were somewhat foreign and seemingly unwelcoming to us, we weren't triggered by the occasional sightings of Confederate battle flags. While our Confederate worshiping neighbors contended that this flag was more about heritage and less about hate, their having it unfurled on flagpoles in their front yards was a constant reminder they could care less about our black grievances and concerns. Most of my childhood homes, impoverished blacks were seemingly relegated to the subsidized housing units in the Riverview, Lee, and Cloud communities. The more upwardly mobile blacks, the ones that were fortunate enough to be working at the Tennessee Eastman Company, resided in single-family homes on Carver, Dunbar, Lewis, Douglas, and Dell Streets. Yes, there were many impoverished whites that resided near us. Many of them were considered respected and cherished friends, allies in the struggle for equal rights and protection under the law. But in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s, my neighborhood interactions were limited to other black children and adolescents and their working-class black parents. The interactions I had with white folks occurred at my primary and secondary schools, in the grocery store, or in the government buildings offering public assistance. As young children, we spent the summer months playing basketball on the rec's indoor and outdoor courts, and board games, ping pong, and pool in its upstairs gymnasium loft. Most days, we would walk across Lewis Street to Miss Snook's Riverview apartment to use what little change we had in our pockets to purchase her strawberry or blueberry-flavored ice cups. We would then consume them while sitting next to each other on the curb, the hot summer sun beaming down on us. While these memories have a special place in my heart, it is the ones where I visited the single-family homes of my middle-class relatives to flip through the pages of Ebony and Jet magazines that helped me gain a lasting appreciation for the black skin that I'm in. For those who don't know, Ebony magazine is a monthly magazine that was published or founded in 1945 by the late John H. Johnson with a focus on news, culture, and entertainment. Jet magazine debuted in 1951. Ebony was published monthly, Jet weekly. Both printed publications included the lifestyles and accomplishments of influential black people, fashion, beauty, and politics. Because of this country's failure to reckon with its original sin, i.e. racism, it was published with the goal of countering negative stereotypes of black Americans by showcasing black life and achievement in a positive, self-affirming way. Within the pages of Ebony, I discovered a book written by American scholar and journalist Lerone Bennett Jr., 1928 to 2018, Before the Mayflower, A History of the Negro in America, 1619 to 1962. Within the pages of Jet, I learned about significant events in Black American history and the current ones that show that the struggle for equal rights and protection is far from over. Within the pages of Ebony, I was introduced to Eunice Johnson's Ebony Fashion Fair, which introduced me to my first photographic crush, supermodel Sophia Henderson. Lastly, within the pages of Jet, I beheld my first female centerfold models, Black Beauties of the Week. Today, neither Ebony nor Jet are among the magazines available for purchase from newsstands or at local bookstores. Since 2019, the Afrocentric content that generations of Black Americans have grown fond of has only been accessible through their websites, ebony.com and jetmag.com. Moreover, Johnson Publishing has a new name, Ebony Media, and is owned by the Clearview Group, a Black-owned private equity firm. I am saddened by the Ebony Media Board's 2019 decision not to offer print versions of these magazines, but I have visited both websites, and I must admit, the content continues to be entertaining, educational, and enlightening. But reading their timely and relevant content on my smartphone or on a tablet is not the same as holding one of their glossy facsimiles in my hands. That's not to say the connection is gone. It's saying this website only accessibility often gets interrupted by phone calls, on-screen notifications, and emails. But as I type these words, I'm conscious of current events, the schemes that the conquering oppressor is hatching to roll back Black Americans' hard-fought progress, fruits bequeathed to us contemporary Blacks by our ancestors after 400 years of resistance, the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. In 2025, race can no longer be used as a criterion for college admissions. In 2025, public secondary schools and colleges, universities are being unduly pressured to eliminate their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. In 2025, the federally funded National Museum of African American History and Culture is being directed to eliminate exhibits that present content that makes white children, adolescents, and adults feel uncomfortable. And in 2025, having an acute awareness of the effects of historical acts of prejudice, racism, and discrimination, all byproducts of legalized slavery and oppression, is perceived as bad. I could go on, but I won't. Just know that the conquering oppressor's attack on Black American progress is calculated and is seemingly designed to exonerate his ancestors from all criminal liability associated with their participation in the transatlantic slave trade, mob attacks that destroyed thriving Black communities and businesses, the hanging and shooting deaths of innocent Black Americans. His hateful and antagonistic contemporaries know the descendants of enslaved Black Africans and Black Americans are deserving of reparations, but they feel the price they must pay to make these reparations is too high. I'm not going to lie. The conquering oppressor has succeeded in sullying the word woke. When blues musician Huddie Ledbetter recorded a song in 1938 about the Scottsboro Boys, a group of Black teenagers falsely accused of rape, he warned, "So I advise everybody, be a little careful when you go along through Alabama. Best stay woke, keep your eyes open." Back in 1938, Ledbetter was admonishing Southern Blacks to be aware of racial prejudice and social injustice. But today, the conquering oppressor has turned Ledbetter's admonition into a derogatory term for progressive ideas and social justice movements. My fear is too many of our Black American youths, at least the ones who have never viewed Ebony Media's publications, will go through life believing wokeness is wrong. It's not. For the conquering oppressor, the only ideas that matter are conservative, which means favoring tradition and limited government intervention. However, this tradition that conservatives hope to maintain has the conquering oppressor driving the bus into perpetuity, and his desire to limit government intervention is rooted in cementing his power, influence, and control over everything and everyone. Since 1945, Black Americans' march toward freedom, civil rights, and justice has been chronicled in the pages of Ebony and Jet magazines. I would even argue that their coverage of historical events like Bloody Sunday and the Montgomery bus boycott is what motivated our Black forebears and their allies to turn up the heat on elected officials, win hearts and minds in their schools, on their jobs, and in their communities. Our Black children, adolescents, and young adults must understand that they must stay woke and wary during this present age. The mission is still the same: espouse progressive ideas and lead social justice movements that lift all boats while lifting our own. Black parents, please encourage your Black children, adolescents, and young adults to download the Ebony and Jet apps to their smartphones and complete the free subscription fields. Make sure their phones are set to receive regular notifications from Ebony Media. They will be alerted when online issues of Ebony and Jet drop. More than anything, encourage them to consistently read each magazine's content so they can be inspired and motivated to build upon our proud legacy of activism, community, and kinship, our Black excellence.